Scamming is a phenomenon that has taken over society, and every day more and more young men are choosing to pursue fast money through illegal means over making an honest living. However, no matter how many artists you listen to who sing about doing crime, there is one kid who puts them all to shame. This nerd on your screen looks like the most innocent civilian, but in reality was able to steal so much money that he became richer than Future, Lil Baby, and Kendrick Lamar combined.
One click on the piece and the wheels start floating. A bus but me done about 3 passport. Make a toast money. I'm a capping on my dog. I did bag of money make me living night fraud on me.
And the craziest part is, he stole all of this money in just one phone call.
No way.
Oh my god! $242 million! Do you know how much money that is?
But what's even crazier is that if it wasn't for his own stupidity, he might have actually gotten away with it. And that is what we're here to examine. It all started in the most unlikely of places, a Minecraft server where young Malone Lam simply enjoyed playing competitive games with players. However, he had no idea the trajectory that his life was about to take. It was in one of these competitive matches that he would come across another young man by the name of Jean-Diel Serrano, otherwise known as Box. As the two went on to become friends, they realized their interests aligned and they had a shared love for something even more than Minecraft: money. And they also agreed that the law wasn't enough to stop them. And so it was around this time that the two would begin devising schemes to scam other Minecraft players out of their accounts. They would steal their login information and then either resell the accounts to other people, or worst of all, hold them for ransom. It was through doing this for extended periods of time that taught these kids the highly essential skills they would need to survive in the underworld. Skills like manipulating people over the phone, fake login websites, phishing, and digital fraud. And as much as they were having an amazing time making hundreds of dollars, they had no idea that these same skills were about to make them some of the most successful scammers in human history. As time went along, the money they were making became less and less satisfying, and they decided that they needed more. A very convenient time for them to discover the wonderful world of cryptocurrency. A nice tool for honest, hardworking people to take their money and invest in with the hope of some decent returns. But for a man like Malone, it was nothing more than an opportunity. You see, the way crypto works is that the value changes extremely fast. Therefore, if you invest your money at the right time, you can turn $1,000 into $2,000 literally overnight. So imagine people doing this on a large scale. This is how you hear stories of normal people becoming crypto millionaires in the span of just a few weeks. However, to do this, it requires time, effort, knowledge, and most importantly, risk. Because to get to this level of skill to make that much money, believe me, you are going to lose a lot and make mistakes. But there is one way to get rich and reap all the benefits of crypto without doing any of that. And it just so happened to be right up Malone's alley, to steal it from somebody else. And once this idea came into the picture, that is exactly what he set out to do. Of course, such a massive operation was about to require some high levels of finesse and insane levels of skill. Because remember, we're not talking about professional hackers or people who are particularly dangerous in any way. No, these are Minecraft kids whose main specialty is simply deception, telling lies. Because every scammer knows that it doesn't matter how many firewalls or security protocols you have in place if somebody simply tricks you into handing over the keys. And so because of this approach, if even one thing went wrong and the victim suspected something fishy, the entire operation would be cooked. Because of this, to make the heist as believable as possible, Malone would recruit 2 more people onto the team, 18-year-old Danish Khan and Veer Chetal, and each person in the group was assigned a role in the operation. To select their targets, they wouldn't use traditional methods like going after famous people or anything that could get them caught. Instead, they simply looked at the public information that was available about cryptocurrency investments and looked at who was making some big moves, and that's when they found him. A man based in Washington, D.C. who had particularly large amounts of Bitcoin all stored in one wallet. Numbers that when converted to USD amounted to tens of millions of dollars, possibly even more. Keep in mind, all it takes to log into someone's wallet is one email and one password. However, usually what prevents things like these is something called two-factor authentication, where basically to log into someone's account, they get a notification on their phone saying, confirm if this is really you. This is why each person's role people in the plan was absolutely crucial in getting around this, because if this messed up, it would all be over. And once every person understood their part, it was time. But even though it was all planned, I don't think that even they could have predicted the extreme whirlwind that this insane plan was about to create. It was the night of August 18, 2024, when every member of the team manned their post on the Discord call and was ready for action. First, we had the scouts, Malone and Box, who made the very first call to the victim. Minding his own business, he picked up the phone wondering what was wrong, to which they said hello and responded telling him that they were Google technical support staff and that the victim's account was currently under attack by high-level hackers. Of course, the victim freaked out and asked immediately what he needed to do, to which they responded that he needed to reset his password as soon as possible. When he went to do this, of course, there was a verification code, to which they said, "Hey, we just sent you a verification code. Read it back to us to confirm that we gave you the right one." However, what the victim and apparently most of you don't know is that it literally says on every platform, "We will never ask for your verification code. Never tell anybody." And so once the victim told them the code because he believed they're the ones who sent him, the first step of the plan was complete. But it wasn't over just yet. Now that Malone and Box had done their parts, it was time for the other members of the team to shine. It was shortly after this that Virtutal, otherwise known as Wiz, gave the victim his second phone call, except this time pretending to be a member of staff of the company called Gemini. Gemini is the cryptocurrency app that the victim used to store all of his money. Wiz greeted him and told him that he was just a staff member who noticed some highly suspicious activity going on his account and wanted to make sure everything was okay. Of course, having just spoken to two Google support employees who told him someone had his information and was hacking into his email, the victim's blood pressure had gone right back up through the roof because he thought he fixed the problem by resetting his password. But now he's hearing from somebody else that his crypto accounts with millions of dollars may have been accessed. He immediately started to panic and frantically told the Gemini support man everything, to which he simply responded that there is one solution to the problem. If the account is really under attack, he can share his screen and he will guide him through the process of transferring funds to a different, fully secure account. Of course, the victim was extremely thankful and was immediately ready to do anything that Wiz asked of him, including downloading AnyDesk. Now, for those of you who don't know, AnyDesk is a software that allows somebody else to consensually take control of your computer from a remote location. Typically used to help out other people with technical issues or collaborate on projects, it can be a really useful tool. However, in the hands of the wrong people, can become a deadly weapon. And the second that man downloaded the software onto his computer and accepted the request to share screens, it was game over. Of course, he didn't know that though, and the victim continued to sit on the call as the tech support claimed to be helping him. But instead, what Wiz was doing was looking through his accounts to find his information. And eventually, he came across the Holy Grail. Every Bitcoin wallet has something called a private key, which basically functions as the mother of all passwords. And once he stumbled upon that, he knew that both he and his friends' lives were about to change forever. After the call with the victim, they went their separate ways, with an unsuspecting man not realizing that he had literally just given away his life savings. And in just a few clicks, the entire fortune of 44,000 Bitcoin was immediately transferred out of the account and given to the gang. And when converted to US dollars, that amounts to over 238 million. They even recorded their exact reaction the moment it happened.
Oh, wow. No way. No f***ing way.
I see it. It's on the blockchain. It's on the blockchain.
No way.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
And I'm not going to lie, as much as they did a very bad thing, I can't help but wonder just how excited they must have been in this moment. Going from broke college students to having more money than most celebrities will ever see in their lives. However, there was one man in the group who was a bit more excited than the others. And it would be these very feelings that would eventually lead to their massive, excruciating downfall. The money had just been added to their accounts and they were absolutely losing their minds. Imagine if you had just suddenly attained Drake's level of wealth. However, the time they took to celebrate was short-lived because the plan was not yet done. Exactly 17 minutes after the money was stolen, they began using a tactic known as peel chains, where essentially to launder the money and make it hard for authorities to trace, they would break the money down into smaller and smaller amounts and then exchange them for different cryptocurrencies over and over again. Eventually, after a while of doing this carefully, the trail became so blurred that congratulations, they finally had new clean money that was ready to be spent. And fair enough, like I said, if you became rich tomorrow, you'd probably want to spend it too. But there was one man in the group who had a mission. Perhaps he thought he was living in GTA 5, or he just wanted to enjoy the things he never could. But the second or favorite Minecraft player Malone got his hands on that money, his entire life did an absolute 180. Within literal days of his newfound fortune, the young Malone wasted absolutely no time hitting the clubs of LA and giving them a whole new understanding of the term stupid rich, spending unthinkable amounts of money on liquor, clothing, and random girls who didn't even know his name. It got so bad that some nights his bill would come up to over $500,000 in a single night.
The first night I saw them out, I was like, they look way too young. They have somewhere between 400 and 800,000, but then they went out and spent 270,000 the next night, and then they went out again and again, and then they went out on Tuesday night back to Mr. Jones and they spent more money.
Keep in mind, this is the price of a house being spent in a nightclub. He would pay for literally any and everything, from throwing random amounts of money into the crowd for people to get, to buying $1,000 bottles of the most expensive alcohols for every single person in the club to take home. Some even started calling him the modern day Robin Hood.
He even tipped me $2,000. When I tell you the amount of bottles he sent me that I took home, brand new, everything sealed, brand new.
However, of course, the club is a mere playground, and of course the playground eventually gets boring. So when he decided he had enough, Malone did what any normal rational thinking person would do in this situation. He hopped on a $60,000 private jet and flew somewhere else so he could spend even more money. As soon as he touched down in Miami, the first thing this man did, I kid you not, was find a $10 million mansion and claimed it for himself. This place was literally fit for a king, being 8,500 square feet and having a rental price of $62,000. But at this point, money was literally just a glitch in the matrix to Malone. Even further shown by the fact that he filled the driveway of that very mansion with 28 supercars, including but not limited to a Ferrari SF90, a Monza SP1, a Porsche GT3 RS, 2 G-Wagons, one wrapped black and the other wrapped grey, a Rolls-Royce Cullinan, 3 McLarens, a white Lamborghini Urus, another Lamborghini Urus with baby blue interior, a black Lamborghini Revuelto, a blue BMW M4, a Bugatti Chiron, an all-white Lamborghini Aventador SVJ with Malone's name written at the bottom of the door, another Lamborghini Aventador SVJ in blue, and craziest of all, a pink Lamborghini Urus that he bought for his ex-girlfriend who left him in an attempt to get her back. To his surprise, she rejected him yet again. But that didn't demotivate him from finding new ways to spend his money. After buying all of the most expensive designer clothing possibly available, including a jacket that cost $50,000, he decided to also start investing in jewelry, including his Richard Mille watch worth over $450,000 and a diamond ring for every single one of his fingers. Of course, one Richard Mille wasn't enough, and so he spent a few more millions on some more and just kept it pushing. But what better way to spend your money with no direction than on random women who would never look your direction, much less sleep with you? Malone soon went back to the clubs and would develop a habit of buying random girls Birkin bags. Keep in mind, a Birkin bag can range from anywhere between $12,000 all the way to $2 million. One of these ladies was this model right here.
Guys, I can't even make this up when I say that I just woke up to a Birkin in my bedroom because a man gave it to me in the club last night. This is your sign to go clubbing.
And funnily enough, another one of these lucky ladies was someone that some of you may recognize. A famous creator on a certain website known as Sky Bree.
Me and my two girlfriends walk over to the section and this kid, I'm gonna refer to him as like a kid. I mean, he was definitely over the age of 18. He looked pretty young. He comes towards me and he's like, I got this for you.
But apparently the industry she's in has already shown her this lifestyle, so she wasn't particularly impressed.
It's beautiful, but to be honest, it's not really my style.
But of course, if you're a rational thinking person watching all of this, there are probably a few questions lingering in your mind. And aside from how he was able to provide documents needed to purchase cars and a house, apparently he bought them under company names, not his own, so that was actually pretty smart. The main question I'm wondering is, if we're all seeing this and the people are talking about this and the girls in the clubs are posting about this, if everybody is seeing this, doesn't that also mean the feds are probably also seeing this? But it appears that this question did not seem to cross Malone's mind, because as he swiped his card more and more and lived the life of a GTA 6 character before the game is even out, he had no idea that he was already long gone in the crosshairs of a massive takedown that would destroy everything. Taking it back to the night it all started, of course the victim would eventually realize his money was stolen. After reasonable amounts of crashing out, he would immediately alert the authorities. After all, $230 million doesn't just disappear without a trace. However, in this case, it kinda can, because the thing with cryptocurrency is that it's very unregulated, and unlike the formal banking system used by normal people, there are very few actual laws that govern what goes on in the crypto world. Luckily though, there was one man on the scene who could help. A popular online blockchain investigator known as Zach XBT, who was once a survivor of a scam and dedicated his entire life to helping others. As soon as he got wind of the situation, he began tracking the money where he could. However, what really made the connection easy was that at the same time these professionals were trying to figure out where in God's name this money went, some random kid pops out of nowhere with 5 Lamborghinis and a brand new mansion. To make matters worse, Malone's teammates Box and Wiz apparently both messed up the process of money laundering and accidentally exposed their real names in the chat logs. Once the police got wind of this, it was wraps. And without his knowledge, Malone was quickly pinpointed as the ringleader. They carefully planned their moves, and on the 19th of September 2024, exactly 30 days after he became one of the richest men in the world, Malone Lam would wake up to find his home surrounded by FBI agents. And once they knocked down that door, he might as well have woken up and seen wasted. As they apprehended him and carried him away, he was made to do the walk of shame in front of all of his new rich neighbors, walking down the street covered head to toe in his designer clothing and a pair of handcuffs. Every single thing he ever bought that had even a smidge of value was placed up for auction online as a method of at least attempting to recover some of the money for the victim. And to be honest, based on the fact that the cars were damaged because this kid probably bought them before he even knew how to properly drive, it's clear that most of the value will not be recollected, especially since bars and clubs are not legally obligated to pay back money that they did not know was stolen. Therefore, as much as the victim is getting legal justice, based on how these processes typically go, he will be lucky to even get back half of what was stolen from him. But something tells me that after those 30 days, which were probably the worst nights of his life, enduring extreme mental turmoil and the possible self-deletion thoughts that would come with losing $230 million, he is probably extremely overjoyed that it came back at all, because I sure know that I would be. People who fly too close to the sun often get burned, and maybe he could have gotten away with it in a different life, but like Kanye said,
I guess we'll never know.
But unlike Malone Lam, unfortunately, YouTube does not pay Jamaican creators anywhere near what they pay Americans. And so if you appreciate the content we're making on this channel and want to see more of it produced at a faster rate, we have opened a donation link in the description below. To anyone who does choose to support, we thank you very much for believing in the vision. Subscribe to the channel for more insightful content, and as always, the dancehall, even though this one was more about chopping, has been decoded.